What it do, what it be, what it is. It is your boy LV, aka Sturdy Verty, and I am back at you once again with episode 8. And today's episode is going to be a very, very special episode. It's going to be a deep conversation. We have a very special guest, and we're talking about a licensed marriage, family therapist, a speaker, author, wellness advocate, and the owner of Prosperity House in Duncanville, Texas, Miss Sophia Russell. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, LaVert?
Man, it is, hey, I woke up this morning.
Yeah.
Another day, another way. I cannot complain. I mean, I can, but that's not the vibration I want to walk into.
That road. Yeah.
I don't want to walk into that. Yeah, that's a waste. First off, I would like to pose one question. Sure. The first question: what brings you peace? What has been bringing you peace lately?
Lately,
what does that look like for you?
Peace is something I feel like you just are. You can be it or you can not be it. Mm-hmm. And so same with happiness, joy, these things people say, what makes you happy, what brings you peace. For me, I've learned over the last maybe decade or so, I've been studying a lot of esoteric information and just learning that peace is something that comes from within. When we're looking for it on the outside, we will be on a roller coaster, because the outside changes, people are flawed, So I've learned to really, if I start to feel like I'm not at peace, to get quiet, to go somewhere where I could just be by myself, maybe sit in nature, and just start to meditate and quiet my mind and get the peace from within. Mm-hmm. We all have it. It's all there. It's waiting. It's not intrusive. And you have to learn to really just know how to go and allow it to come through you. Yeah.
I came across some information this morning because so I try to keep a little routine. So I wake up, try to get an early morning workout. Mm-hmm. My wife usually beat me out the door, so I think I get up a little later than she does. Yeah. But I got up and went for a run, and I always try to program myself early in the mornings with some positivity, whether that's some type of knowledge, some good music, something that's going to uplift me and keep me moving.
Yeah.
But I came across some information, and it said that we have to make sure our intention is higher than our attention.
I like that.
And the way it was brought, it was because we spend so much time worrying about the attention that we get from things opposed to what the intention is for us even doing what that is.
Right.
And that creates, judgment, not feeling good enough, waiting for someone else to tell you, hey, good job.
Yeah.
Reassurance from someone else when ultimately we should be reassuring ourselves.
Yes.
I feel like in today's society, we depend on a lot of outside forces and sources to give us the information that was always here anyway.
Right. Yes.
This is a fitness-based podcast, but fitness goes and it goes to so many different levels.
Mind, body, spirit, and soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I forgot the soul. I forgot the soul. And I did read your book, Soul Walk.
Oh, good. Yes, read the book.
Yes, read the book. Shout out. Pick up the book, Soul Walk on Amazon. Absolutely.
Yes.
Great read.
Thank you.
Great read. I like the way you put things into perspective for those that are religious, because some people are religious, and I don't knock people who are on that walk, because what
so many of us are.
Right. So what gets you to the source may not get this person to the source. Whatever you need to get there, that's, I feel like that's their business. But I like the way you loop back into how you basically make sense with the spirituality. You time in as one, and you did a great job at articulating that. Would you mind touching base on what the book is about?
Yeah. Soul Walk, Before, During, and After Life. I didn't grow up as a Christian. My parents were very, what's the word? What's the political word for that? I forget. Anyway, lenient. Yeah. They weren't religious.
Okay, that's beautiful.
They kind of left it up to us, Okay. But when I was about 18, you can't help but be shaped by Christianity. We live in America, so that's kind of the main religion here. or one of the main religions. And so in college, I ended up meeting someone who invited me to a church. And all through my childhood, I always enjoyed going to church when friends invited me and things like that. And always felt a connection with God, whether I was going or not. So when I was in college, I started going to a church with someone. I became very involved, and it was a Christian non-denominational church. It was very well mixed with different cultures. I love that. It wasn't, the churches I had visited were primarily black churches,
Right.
which was fine. But this one I lived in California, and California has so many different cultures. And I always felt like the church should represent that,
Yes.
And so this church had a lot of different cultures, and I love that. And they really went after studying the Bible before making a commitment to be baptized and things like that. So I really love that aspect of it. And I stayed in that congregation and with that church very committed for a long time. When I was in my mid-30s, life shifted. I won't go into all that. I was going through rough marriage, kids, things like this. And I ended up divorced. And I had moved to Arizona. And really seeking that really jolted me kind of into some self-reflection, and really seeking life. I'm 35, 36 years old. I'm approaching 40, feeling like, what am I doing?
Currently where I am.
Where is God
I
and
am
all
there
of this
currently.
chaos,
I'm like, what is-
And so I ended up really praying, just asking for guidance. And normally when I did that, I would go pick up my Bible and find something to read. I have read my Bible many, many times. I really studied it. I love it. I still do today. But I wasn't compelled to go to my Bible. My husband, my second husband, I was married then, he had a ton of books, like 100 or so more books on a bookshelf, a lot of ancient knowledge and things like that. And so I just happened to pick the one that stood out to me, and it started talking about the laws of vibration and attraction. And I had heard about attraction. I had never heard of the law of vibration. This
like
is
the
about
Kabbalion.
12 years ago or so. Yeah.
What was that? What was the name of the book?
It was the Encyclopedia of Esoteric Knowledge by Vernon Howard. Yeah, it's a good book. Pick it up. So I read that, and when it was talking about those laws, and I decided to Google around and find out more about those, and it just kind of started there. I really started studying that there are more laws in the universe than what we're given. We're given gravity,
Yeah.
I guess if you're into science, you might find out others, but these laws are something we should know, the laws of attraction and vibration. They govern our universe. They govern our lives.
Regardless on if we want them to or not.
Regardless if you want them to or not, doesn't matter which religion you are, you are going to match what you match.
Yes.
Your energy guides that. And your energy is driven by your thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
And so if I can start to manage my thoughts and feelings, I can start to manage my life. And so really when I'm working with people, one of the main things I ask or help them with is self-love. It's something that we're
That's
not
deep.
trained on how to do.
Yes.
The Bible tells us when we're religious or not, you hear, love your neighbor as yourself. And people are really striving to love the neighbor. They're not loving themselves. And you can never love your neighbor if you're not loving yourself. And so once I really started to understand more about what that meant, I really strove to start, seeking it out, living it out, loving people, but loving myself. I didn't know what that meant, and I was very sad. I had life going on around me.
Yeah.
But once I really started to become more self-aware, which self-love to me encompasses being self-aware, taking care of yourself, and managing yourself. So many of us are worried about what the other person is doing. Well, when you do this, it doesn't make me happy, or that makes me angry when you do that. And okay, you might have feelings around what others do, but it's really up to you to manage how you feel. If you keep saying, I'm angry because my husband did that or my wife did that.
Sounds like some
Your
boundaries
wife or
need
your
to be
husband,
set.
they may
Yeah.
never change. They may not know how to change what you're talking about. They may need years to change that, And so if your happiness or your peace or your joy is dependent upon that, you may or may not ever be happy or peaceful, So you have to take self-ownership of your peace and your happiness. And so that's really how I work with others, is really helping them to think differently, to love themselves, and to be more self-aware and to manage themselves. It's easy to click in and understand it, but when you're walking it and trying to implement it at home with your family, it's challenging.
Absolutely.
It's challenging. And so that's where the therapy comes in. You walk away, you might need to refresh in another week or two. So that's kind of where I go with things.
You said something.
I think I went off the gamut there. That really the question you asked.
Hey, that's what this is for. Yeah. This is a conversation. Some questions, it takes a little while to get there to break it down. You said something very powerful about, spiritual laws.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I'm learning to operate.
Yes.
However, what I understand about spiritual laws that I try to articulate to most people is that they come from a standpoint of not just us operating in those laws, nature itself operates in those laws. It's like stealing. Why is stealing bad?
There's perception and circumstance.
Right. It is perception and circumstance. But at the same time, if I was, let's say we had 2 bowls and it was 2 dogs. And this dog finished his meal and went to the other dog to try to take the other dog's meal. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be there's going to be a clash, there's going to be a challenge. Why is that? It's because you're taking something that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
And that works with anything, even birds, even as small as ants. So that's a spiritual law that just makes sense regardless
you're leaning into what some people call karma.
Do you feel like that's karma?
Well, it's kind of you reap what you sow, and what I mean by that is a relationship should be reciprocal, and sometimes people take a little bit much and the other person is feeling it. And it's not to say that the other person should have an attitude but you should work to be in a reciprocal, balanced relationship.
Yes.
And that's really what karma is. I think people misunderstand it. They use it when they're angry, oh, you did this to me and
so
karma's going to get you.
That comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to, again, be self-aware. If that is the way karma works, why am I in the situation with you? So you have to kind of bounce back on yourself, not in a critical, judgmental way where you're beating yourself up and there's no benefit in that. But if you become more self-aware in a honest way for clarity, to really understand how did I get in this situation with this person or event or where someone would steal from me, it's not taking blame, so to speak. People think it's a judgment. But it's if you learn more about your energy, then you can really determine, you can get away from feeling blamed or criticized. But how do I feel most days? Am I happy and joyful, or is there kind of this, underneath things? Because the energy is what draws and matches you to situations, so you gave the dogs for an example. Yes, the dog comes and take it, the other one doesn't, it's going to be a challenge. What is going on there is that this one has ownership and this one is taking, and the other one feels the need to protect. That's yin and yang.
Yeah.
It's always going to happen. We can grow from that. We can learn from that. But what we do is fight and get angry, and we want to separate and, all of these other things that happen rather than, again, self-reflecting.
Now that was a lot to digest, and that was some good food right there.
Thank you.
That was some good food. So, what inspired you to dedicate your life to helping others?
Yeah. Well, passion. We should follow our passion. I was speaking to the young man earlier. I used to be in banking. It was not my passion. I was a young kid getting out of high school. Yeah. I tried college for a year or so, had some odd jobs, and never really knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. I just know that money needed to be earned. I had a son young, and I was a single mom. And so I did some different jobs. I eventually got a job as a bank teller. And moved up within the banking industry and was there over 15 years, and never chose it, never really liked it. A lot of sales involved, goals you got to meet. And you meet the goals. The next quarter, they've doubled them, So it's just all this stuff going on that I didn't know that I agreed to. But when I started to learn about this different information, like I was sharing with you, getting the book and really seeking that out, that was the biggest thing that came forth is I've never liked this job. I do it well. I did it well. I became a supervisor. I learned a lot working within the banking industry about people and psychology, about coaching and training and sales, sales, which is psychology.
Yeah.
So I had to ask myself, okay, what is it about this career that I have learned? What do I like? And maybe I can grow from there. Maybe I can figure out what I'm going to do from there. Because then I was almost 40 and I still didn't know what I would switch to. I didn't know what my passion was. And as I started learning these things, I'm going, okay, my passion, what is that? So I had to figure it out. And one of the beautiful things about that time period of waking up, as we all call it, is you learn that you have inner guidance. That you can sit quiet and ask questions and listen and pay attention, and you're being guided. And so when I realized it's the people that I like working with. I had done a lot of training. I was over a staff. I had traveled to train in different places. I led classes, workshops and things like that. And I loved that part of it. So I said, oh, maybe I could do something with that. And then I'm just flipping through the college catalogs. Oh, counseling. And it just felt right. Right. Light bulb moment, that this is my passion. I absolutely love it, along with writing and speaking, So now that I'm doing that, sure, there's bills, and there's debt to be paid, and there's problems that come up with family and children. But it is not the same now that I'm doing something I love. So I anytime people are talking about career, I'm like, just write out anything that you love to do. If you're working at McDonald's right now and you can't stand it, write down what you're learning at McDonald's. There's a reason why you were drawn to that particular place for this particular time, and use it for wherever you want to go. Because I was just telling my husband the other day, now that I'm running my own business, all of that stuff I was doing, all that administrative stuff at the bank and how to figure out problems and, work with upset people and, all of these things. All of that I learned, I'm using, and it's no problem. Like, I don't even lose my temper, it doesn't catch me off guard. I had a lot of training in that banking industry. And so it made this part easy. It made this part easy. So your passion, follow your passion. Figure out what it is and do it, and don't be afraid.
I just got a phone call.
Yes.
And people will break through the matrix. And that's literally what just happened. So I love the fact that mid-30s, like you said, almost 40, and you're trying to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even me, even myself included, I feel like I'm on like a time crunch or something. Like I just have to, I have to have it figured out.
Yeah.
I just have to know what it is. I have to make this certain amount of money. I need to be living here. I need to have this. I need all of these things that I put on myself, all these frustrations and all of these, in the fact that mid-30s, you were like, hey, you were going through this moment and you figured it out.
Well, close as I can.
Well, as close as you can, but to the point to where it's like, that just lets me know it's never too late.
No, never. Oh.
It's never too late.
Life will dangle in front of you like a carrot, and you'll always be chasing something when you're on that frame of mind, that thought process, that there's a clock ticking in the background. There is no clock ticking in the background. You have eternity. And society does that so that we are restless. We are anxious. We are depressed. When we're sick like that, which causes everything, in my view, you don't catch cancer, you don't catch diabetes, you don't catch arthritis. This is a breakdown of your body. And it's through your thinking. And you can learn to think better. Your body will respond. The body is a self-healing machine. That studies have shown that organs will rejuvenate themselves within the proper environment. We got to give our body the proper environment, and the way to do that is to start thinking better. I've seen people that are even very fit that break down and get sick with things, because it's in the thought. And you see people that might be challenged with a life-threatening illness. The doctors are now taping back from giving people time because they're learning that too. A doctor tells you got 6 months, you might believe that, and it's your belief that takes over. So if you can find a way to understand that what you're going through, that the creator of all has put something here to help you heal, and that you will be guided to that thing. It may be a doctor, it may be a shaman, it may be whatever, all these different healers and things that we have now. But you will be guided to that person, place, or event that will help you. And so really being able to work on your belief and how if you can understand that we're all getting programmed when we're young, we're sitting in front of TVs saying, this is how family looks.
Yeah.
And then you look at yours and go, oh my God, something's wrong.
Yeah.
My family doesn't operate that way. And we don't do that consciously, of course, but little kids are taking that in, Between 0 and about 9, 10 years old, our brains are under hypnosis. So we're not really judging mom and dad, who's right and who's wrong in the argument, or if they even should be arguing. We just feel it and we take it in, and it interrupts our nervous system. And I didn't know that as a young mom. I didn't understand my energy when I was pregnant, and that's a very real thing. So being able to manage the thoughts and beliefs behind what you're doing is a big part of being healed and even being healthy. But you were asking me about the clock ticking. That robs you of the present moment.
And it does.
Robs you of the present moment. I think back of my kids are mostly grown now. I still have one that's in middle school, but the other 3 are grown. And I missed a lot, worrying about bills and the marriage and the dysfunction that we had. And I missed a lot of their upbringing, enjoyable moments, that are gone and fleeting from not being present. And that's what that clicking clock does, is it robs you of being present with what is going on right now. Right now, this is the only thing going on in our universe. For those of us here, it's the only important thing.
This
right
moment.
Now, the bills don't matter. This is the only thing happening in this universe for us right now. And so if you can learn to be present with each moment and give it your 100%, you'll find that you feel better and better and better each day.
Sounds like gratitude.
Yeah, appreciation.
And that is so powerful because that clock causes anxiety because you're looking forward for things that aren't yet there instead of appreciating and having gratitude for everything that you have
that is here
in this very moment.
Yeah.
Then also we find ourselves looking back in the past and that causes some depression simply because you're trying to run from something that you don't want to go back to.
And you keep cycling it.
Because
if you start paying attention to the way that you think when you're driving, cooking, cleaning, these routine things that you don't really have to focus on, that's when your mind will wander. And if you can start paying attention to where it goes, you can start managing it. Like you said, we're either in the future or the past. We're rarely in the present. And that's why the past keeps repeating itself. And it's usually the things that we don't like that keep repeating themselves. And it's because of our attention to them.
Unintentionally manifesting.
Yes, and you were saying earlier, be intentional. Yes, you have to be intentional, but it takes practice. And if you can start by paying attention, thinking about what you think about, you go, I didn't know.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Thinking about what you think about.
Yeah, think about what you think about. When I'm working with couples, I ask them, especially if they're having trouble implementing what we're talking about, how much of your thought during the day is negative about your partner? You know, she did this, he did that, he did that. And then you expect to go home and things be good. It's not going to happen. So you have to pay attention. Oh, wow, you know, maybe my partner, you know, keeps not taking the trash out or whatever. I'm just thinking of something. And I see the trash again. I'm immediately irritated, and I've got to walk around with that. And that thought is going to add other thoughts. They start picking up momentum. He never does this. He never does that. And I remember last year. You know, I remember 5 years. You know, our mind knows it. Our mind was made to create. And we're not taught that. So if we're focused on a negative thing, it's going to add, and create.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the partner gets home or you get home, you're not feeling real great about them. And they've not done anything. You've just been thinking about them so negatively throughout the day. You know, whereas if I can catch that and start saying, you know what, but he does a lot of great things too. Yeah, he has these flaws. I have flaws. Surely he's seeing things in me that I don't see, just like I'm seeing things in him that he doesn't see. And it takes a lot of grace in marriages, and a lot of people can't sustain that, you know. So being able to be self-aware. Self-love to me is self-aware, like I said, looking at the self without judgment and criticism, but just to help yourself grow and change and, you know, work on the things you feel you should work on. Self-care, taking care of yourself on purpose, you know, having an exercise regimen, eating properly for the most part, you know, and just releasing self-blame and judgment and things like this, because it's not a benefit. It, like you said, leads into more anxiety or depression, which everybody has.
Right.
No one's walked through my door in the last 2 years that don't have those.
Right.
You know, unless I've had a few clients that are grieving, you know, things like that. But there's a lot you can do, and that staying present is a big part of that. You know, the future doesn't even exist. The past doesn't even exist.
Right.
It does not. Truly, the only thing you have is right now. And we're
here.
always overlooking right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Golly, that was real good. 'Cause me and what you said about your spouse, me and my wife, we just celebrated 9 years this year.
Congratulations.
This was April 29th. And we had a horrible anniversary.
Oh.
It was not good. It was not good simply because we were both we're in a place to where it's like we're looking back and we're just like, we don't want to go back to where we were.
Right.
But it's like we're trying to understand where we're going. And that created a lot of uncertainty, a lot of frustration, a lot of unsurety, because we're just trying to figure out what that is. She's growing as a person. I'm growing as a person.
Right.
We're both trying to figure out what that is and how we play a part in each other's lives, in our growing lives, in our growing careers, and whatever that is that we're going for. And what kind of eased the blow in that moment was us sitting each other down, having a conversation, and being thankful for even having each other at that moment.
Yeah.
Just being thankful that we even celebrated, we even got 9 years together.
Yeah.
Well, 14 total, but that we even got 9 years out of each other.
Yeah.
Like I do for 9 years. The fact that we even got that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But we're so busy focused on
what didn't happen
right, and what she's not doing, because everybody's only worried about what they experience.
Yes.
I'm worried.
You did this and I did it because you did that. Or
and it's always somebody pointing the finger, and it's like, oh well, you did that, and it made me feel this way. Oh, so my feelings aren't. And it's this whole tit for tat, this tug of war of
that neither of you wants to be in,
that no
and
one
how do we get out?
Right.
And appreciation is a good way of doing that.
And that really,
and you have to practice it and be intentional, because there's so many forces around us that tell us day to day that I don't have enough. You know,
Oh, man, you
the
get on social media,
yes,
my
you're scrolling
Lord.
social media, you do social comparison.
Yeah.
And even if you don't intend to, the people that build these applications, they use psychologists. They know what works. They know what gets into your mind. And they know
Yeah.
you're going to compare. And so you have to be intentional about saying, you know, I'm going to do the time that I allot for this, and then I'm going to put it down, you know, and be engaged with life. I wanted to comment on, you said you guys had a terrible time. Now, when you look back, you can learn from that. You know, the terrible times are not anything we need to suppress or get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
They're
It's something to get
lessons.
through.
Yeah, they're lessons. And if we can reflect and say, okay, well, you know, what could I have done different? Or what was I expecting? And how can I make sure that it's better, you know, the next, whatever lesson you can glean from whatever happened, whether it was abuse, an argument, a car accident, you know, you lined up with it energetically. And that means that there is something in your energy that your guidance is wanting you to adjust to go a different way, you know. So me with banking, I could have kept staying in the banking, saying, you know, no, you can't quit, money, you know, you got bills and all. My guidance may make it harder and harder if I'm wanting to really be a therapist, you know. And so that hard might mean me getting fired. You know, whereas some people might say, I got laid off, by the way, I didn't get fired. So it kind of hit me differently. But,
Yeah.
and actually, no, they were going to lay me off and I quit. See, it was a while ago, so I'm forgetting the details. But, you know, you have to be open to understanding that you are divinely guided. You are divinely protected. And the world will tell you opposite. I think of the whole world as a church. You know, it's not one religion, but everything in your experience is not a separate thing that I have this life and a spiritual life. You know, everything is spiritual and everything can be a lesson. But if I'm regretting it constantly or suppressing the emotion all the time, which in my experience, I'm not saying this is 100% across the board, a lot of men have trouble navigating emotion. You know, in our society, there's these gender roles, and men are allowed to be angry and happy. You know, if they're confused or don't know or sad or, you know, any of these other emotions, it's very difficult for men to navigate. Or, God forbid, there not be enough money, you know, that men feel really responsible for that. Rather than saying, I have a partner here and we can be equally responsible for that.
Oh, man.
You know, you don't have to carry that burden by yourself.
Right.
You know, and sometimes the partner, the woman might be saying, why aren't you carrying this burden by yourself? You know, and she's angry, you know, about the work, her part. And he's looking at her going, well, I don't want her to do, you know, so it just becomes this big mess when we're looking at the way the world tells us to do things. You know, whatever works for your family, you figure it out. Sometimes she might make more. Sometimes you might make more. Who cares? Right. The family is being supported, you know. So just really finding a way to be present and appreciative, like you're saying. You guys turned the corner by saying, hey, I just appreciate that we made it 9 years. Dinner didn't work out or the plans didn't work out. But, man, we're here. We're alive. We're healthy. It's beautiful. Our kids are good, you know. And so that changes the feeling, which changes the energy. And the universe is an attraction-based universe. It never says no. It just gives you what you're putting out. And so if money is not something that is coming to you like you want, or love, or whatever the case is, usually it's money or love that people are worried about. If it's not coming to you the way that you would like, check your energy. You have control over that.
Because, that makes sense, because it's like you're worried about the lack of.
You're going to get more lack of.
And you're manifesting it.
Yeah.
The lack of.
And that's
is.
Yeah. So you're saying, I need more money. I need more money. The universe does not speak English. You know, it's not a language-based thing. It's an energy-based thing. So it feels lack, and it delivers back lack.
If that's where your intention is.
It's going off of your thought and feeling. And if you're focused on saying, I don't have, you're getting delivered more, I don't have. Whereas if you say, I do have, These are the things I do have and I love them. So maybe the bank account is not where you should be looking if you want to change the feeling. Okay, so abundance comes in so many ways, and if you're looking at it for this one avenue of abundance, money, and it's not there right now, shift to something else. What are you abundant in? Walk down the street and look at nature. It's abundant, and you're part of nature. If we were to, you see these history shows that show, the world, if it were to, after Armageddon or something like that, all the buildings are covered in trees and ivy, because nature never stops. It grows. It's abundant. It's always going to be supported. And you are part of nature. So you will always grow and be supported when you stop blocking that by focusing on what you're lacking.
Now that is what you call some spiritual and some soul fitness right there.
Yeah, soul fitness. I like that.
I like soul fitness. Hey, we got to trademark that for somebody else.
Yeah.
Soul fitness. Now that was beautiful. That it puts me back in the mind of, I read this book. I can't remember who the author was, but it's called The Power of the Subconscious Mind.
Yes, that's Dr. Joseph Murray.
Dr. Joseph Murray. And what you said had a lot to do with that, because one thing about the subconscious mind, it doesn't care if you're telling the truth or lying.
It's just going to follow your instructions.
It's going to believe whatever that is. And that segues me into this. How powerful are mantras, and how powerful are affirmations? How powerful are those?
Well, they're useful. They're very powerful, but you are the operant power, So if I'm saying, this is where it could get murky for people. Because I'm saying the affirmations, I'm repeating them. I got the stickers all over my mirror,
Right.
But you have to feel it to be true.
Yeah.
Yes. You have to feel it to be true. So if you're saying the mantra and each time you're feeling that it's a lie, I'm not abundant, and you're saying I'm abundant. One of my favorite things is I am always divinely supplied, mentally, physically, morally, financially. I'll repeat that in my mind all the time, and it brings me support. But if I'm saying that and I'm saying, no, I'm not, I don't know how I'm going to pay my mortgage tomorrow, I'm not financially supplied. If that's the underlying tone, that's why I say think about what you're thinking about.
Specifically.
Yeah, because then you don't want to use that mantra. You want to find one that resonates with you, that does feel good. Whatever is abundant. There's something abundant in your home if it's abundance that you're looking for. There's something you can focus on and say, I'm healthy, I'm strong. You watch that Michael movie. I love Michael Jackson.
Hey, shout out, Mike.
Shout out to Mike.
Come on.
And I keep saying this over and over to people that will hear me. But if the planet were a church, Michael Jackson would be a great example of a God. He's showing you physically how to follow your passion despite being born in poverty, despite family dysfunction, despite mental health problems, despite the issues with his father and with his whatever, relationships that he had to bring children to the world, all the things the media did to kind of bring him down. Despite all of that, he's still, even after transitioning from this life, he's still proving himself to be one of the best entertainer of all time. We can't say one of the best.
Absolutely.
Everybody in the world knows him. And it's bigger than who we call Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ was here. There was only about 1 million people on the planet, and they didn't all know him. That religion didn't grow until 300 years after he passed. So during his lifetime, no one, the people in his local community, but the religion was taken and, had a certain agenda.
Weaponized.
Several hundred years later. But what you see Michael doing has nothing to do with a religion. You can watch his videos of him in concert, and people are passing out. Kids that he did bring near, some of them were healed of cancer. It's just all kinds of things that he's showing us. You can be a regular person and still express the creator of all to the best of your ability. That God has implanted itself in you as a human to have the ability to do whatever you want. And it doesn't intervene. It gave you free will, And so as you bump around and trying to figure that out, you're going to mess up. And the creator of all knows that. You're going to make what you might call mistakes. That's okay. Those mistakes guide you to what you can do different.
Realignment.
Yeah, exactly. Realignment.
Yeah.
So being able to understand the world through a different lens, when you're in a religion, it's a little bit more challenging to do that. Well, I shouldn't say any. My experience was in Christianity, which I was very devoted for, at least 20-something years. Very devoted. Jesus was the way. I door knocked. I baptized people. I did all of that. But I was doing that because I really believed that was how you serve the creator of all. And when I started to expand my wisdom and understand more, you can serve the creator of all by going inward and finding your passion. And that, like we said it before, that may or may not be through religion.
Right. In just a second, that Michael Jackson, I have a 9-year-old, and she knows that man's whole catalog.
Love her. Yeah.
And she wasn't even alive to see that man walk this planet.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's when you know you have transcended greatness.
Yes.
To a point to where decades after you.
Yeah, time doesn't matter.
Come on.
Time doesn't
you
matter.
You are still one of those, as I call it. One of those.
He gave us a great. People say worship, and I say no. You don't worship. You express. So as I think of him expressing the Creator, he's the only person I've seen doing it that well. At his talent. Your talent might be different, and of course, there's others. There's filmmakers and producers and people that are following their creative talent. Whether it be a writer, an accountant, if you're following your talent, you're doing it to the best of your ability, you're going to feel happiness despite what's going on around you. And you're going to be supported financially. You're going to be okay.
And I love that. So in your opinion, what do you believe is the difference between religion and spirituality?
Religion, my opinion, I've never really thought about that, but in my experience, religion has rules that you must abide by, or you're not saved, or you're doing something against the Creator. And so there's some sort of punishment involved in that. Whereas a spiritual person understands that everything is spiritual, and whatever happens, whatever I do, I'm going to learn and glean and grow from that, which is what I believe the Creator of all is doing. It is not finished in one sense. It is everything that it becomes. Let me back up a little bit. When I was created, when you were created, that is the Creator becoming LaVert and instilling himself into this human experience, and then giving that a personality, LaVert. So you named it LaVert, right? And so that experience as LaVert has all of the capability that the Creator it came from has. Only we come into this world and get taught that we're limited. That we can't do certain things. And people repeat it to us over and over and over again. And so by the time you're 18, you know all the things you are not capable of, and you don't really know what you are capable of.
You lose that childlike mind.
And that's for an agenda. They put you in a box. Yeah, that's for an agenda, for that 1% that leads the world like a corporation. Which I don't go a lot into because I don't like to give energy to things that I don't want.
Talk to them.
Because it amplifies.
Y'all ain't getting that energy. Now let's segue.
So you just zero it back to yourself.
I
have the power to create whatever I'd like to create, and figure out what that is. It's different for everybody, and start to believe that you have support.
See, you just articulate things so well.
Thank you.
So
it's not
well.
me, it's what comes through.
Hey, the download.
Yes, the download.
Yeah, I got you. I'm picking up what you're putting down. How important is self-awareness when it comes to healing?
Well, a big part. So if you have some sort of ailment that maybe is life-threatening, or maybe you just can't get around, or whatever it is, or, it could be something embarrassing. People have things with their skin, or, things like that. Sit with yourself. Learn to meditate. love yourself anyway with that flaw or that ailment. Love yourself anyway. And when I say that, when I started to practice this, and I tell my husband all the time, I start thinking about what I think about, and the strangest thoughts come up about myself. I'm very hard on myself in that mental chatter, and I go, wow, and if I'm that hard on myself, I wonder what the people around me are seeing.
Right.
I notice I'm a little short with my son when I come in from, day, and I'm busy and rushed, and I have to say, oh, son, I'm sorry, it's not you. I'm just, I'm a little agitated.
Yeah.
So when you're self-aware, you can catch it and you can change and you can have a different experience with people. But really understanding that this takes time. I started learning this 12 or so years ago, and of course I'm much better than then, but never perfect.
Right.
I'm sure he could tell you, never perfect. But I am much better and much more at peace. And so really being self-aware is important, especially if you want to be in a relationship. People can go from relationship that don't work out. There's a reason, and it's not always the other person, probably never the other person only. You have a part in that as well. And self-awareness will bring you that. It'll help you understand what your part is so that if you don't want that experience again, you're doing better. If you want to heal, what is my body? What is my guide? What am I learning from this? And also not only what you're learning, but they will give you downloads, your guides on how to heal. You'll get little inklings, nudges, awareness. You'll go somewhere routine and bump into the right person that, introduces you to something. So when you're connected and you're self-aware, you'll feel the guidance and you can walk right into the intentional deeds. People say you got to have work and deeds together. But if you're anxious and you're doing deeds, they might not be so fruitful because you can't have anxiety and trust the divine guidance at the same time. So when you relax that part of you and you say, okay, you know what? I was wrong. I was very mean here, or I could have did that differently, or I could have been more loving, or I could have took more time. I could have listened better. These kind of things. You can grow from that, and when the experience comes again, you respond in that more loving, supportive way, and the lesson goes away. You'll learn that you don't have to keep going through those hard things.
That was powerful. That reminds me of a time in my current relationship that I expected a lot of myself out of my wife. So I expected her to react to situations and to feel the way I felt in situations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work that way. And I had to understand her way of processing and dealing with things. That's her way.
Yeah.
Opposed to me feeling like she should have reacted. You should apologize because that's what I would have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. I had to stop trying to get myself out of her.
Yeah.
And I had to pay attention to how things that were said in situation, how they made me feel.
Yeah.
Because that helped me understand that there's something about that moment, there's something about what was said that triggered this feeling, whether that was some insecurity within myself or whatever that was, understanding why I felt that way.
Right.
That's like someone saying, hey, you're ugly. If you know you're not ugly, it's literally going to go.
Falls right off your
It's
back.
like what you talking about? But if inside you feel or someone has convinced you that you are ugly, and when you hear that,
It offends
now
you.
it offends you.
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
you feel a certain type of way. I had to understand what those feelings actually meant.
Yeah,
like,
good.
what is that saying?
Yeah.
Like, why do I feel
Without
this way?
trying to pull it out of her.
Yeah.
If you keep trying to pull it out of her, it's a dead end cycle. That's the karmic wheel. You're going to keep chasing and she's going to keep running, But you're exactly right. So you went ahead and said, okay, what is it in me
Yeah.
that I'm needing this so bad from her? And that takes exploration sometimes. You might not know exactly what. You know, you might find, I know when I started doing this stuff, I was reading a certain set of books called the Seth Material. And it really talked about being self-aware and digging deeper. And I remember finding sadness there that had been there for a long time. And I didn't realize it. I gotten comfortable with it. It just, you know, it was the way it was. I didn't ever even thought about it. But as I started digging deep like that, like you, it's like, oh, I'm really sad. You know, I have some sadness here. I don't know where it started. And I remember my mom's face flashing in front of me when I was, you know, meditating upon it. And my mom had a different walk than me. She had a journey that was a lot more difficult. And I remember being a little girl and looking up at her, and her face was typically disgruntled. She looked really mean. People often stop me as a young lady and say, smile. And I'm like, oh, smile for? You know, I don't know. I was just disgruntled. I took on my mom's energy, you know, and not blaming my mother because she didn't know about energy. She's a beautiful mother. She took great care of us. But like I said, she had a really hard journey. You know, and we can take on our parents' or our family's energy without realizing it. And then we go into a couple and we think things are a certain way. And when our partner doesn't do them that way, it throws us off. Like, well, we did it this way. Well, I don't know what that means. I didn't do it that way.
Yeah.
You know? And so we have to have, again, grace. And when you put grace over that, then you have the room to kind of calm your anger at your partner and get with yourself and start digging things out, you know. Maybe still your partner could have responded different. We're not saying that, you know. We're not trying to say that they don't have anything to change. They probably do, but it's not about that. This is about me and how I can be a better person. And if more of us really started to do that, you will start seeing couples that will last. And matter of fact, you might see people not get married so quickly. Because it is the hardest thing you'll ever do, you know, second to the kids. These are the hardest things that we'll ever do, and not everybody's ready for that.
Whew.
You know?
Listen, because not every day you're going to like your person.
You don't.
Not every day.
Yeah, you don't. They don't like you either.
They don't like you either. That is the truth.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And that's okay. You don't have to take offense to that.
And that is okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. Can relationships last? Can they survive without emotional vulnerability?
Well, it depends on what you mean by survives. Many people stay married.
And they just deal with it, right?
Deal with it. That's what I don't want my marriage to be you dealing with me and I'm dealing with you. You know? We want to understand that there will be times that way. But what was it? Survive without what now?
Without emotional vulnerability.
You have to have some vulnerability if you want it to be successful. But if one of you is doing it, it will work. Because you'll see some people that say, oh, that, you know, really older people, the woman knows her husband is old and crotchety and she don't care.
Yeah.
She's just like, she still does what she want to do. She happy. He goes, you know, does what he want to do.
Yeah.
She has learned that Bob is not emotionally vulnerable, but there's some secret ways that other people don't see that Bob has loved and supported her. You know, maybe held her at the right time or gave her what nobody else sees that. Everybody sees how evil and mean Bob is.
Yeah.
But the partner has learned that this is who I married and I'm fine with Bob being mean, you know? So it just depends, you know. But it is better. I always tell couples, sometimes I just have one. But if I have both, I tell them that. It's better if both of you are doing it. But if one of you is able to, you know, rise above it and be okay with it, it could possibly work. But that's rare. It's rare.
What advice do you give couples trying to reconnect emotionally?
Spend time together and have grace. Remember, a lot of times people only have conversations when they're mad. You know, everything else is working, kids, school, bills, you know. They don't really have any sort of time together where they talk about these things. They just argue about them when they blow up. So having time to talk about bills, kids, and disagreements, you know, pretty regularly, monthly or something where you sit down and you talk about these things so you don't wait until they escalate.
Yeah.
But being able to have grace is a big part of it, you know, spending time together. I sometimes will ask couples, tell me in the time that you're together, how much of a percentage out of 100%, how much of a percentage would you say the relationship is going great, things are good, to where you're arguing or things you would call bad,
Okay.
And they might say, oh, 70-30. I've heard some say 80-20. And I'm going, oh, that's really good.
Right,
Rarely
yeah.
do they say, the opposite, but sometimes they do. But that's really good. Focus more on the 70% then. When the 30% comes up, remember the 70%. Remember all of these, what are those 70% filled with?
It's one of those spiritual laws you're talking about right there.
Yeah. Focus your attention on what you do want. That's the law of attraction. We think we're focused on what we do want, but we're focused on the lack of what we do want. So if I'm constantly negative about my partner, I'm focused on the lack of whatever they're missing, And so that's what I'm going to keep seeing in that person. I'm not going to see the beautiful person that they are because my attention is so focused on the negatives and the flaws. So if I can really work on myself to shift that, even when Bob is having a rough day or Bob is angry today or Bob is whatever, if I can say, he's off today, that's fine. I'm not going to join in and where are you yelling at me,
Yeah.
So, it takes practice. It takes practice.
It takes practice.
And grace.
It takes grace, kindness.
Yeah. And these are all biblical. And that's something that we don't get in religion is we learn it through that lens of religion so we can miss it. But the Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So as I think, I feel. The heart feels. And it says the heart is deceitful above all things. When your heart is not aligned with your thoughts, I'm thinking I should do this, but I feel this. I know I shouldn't go to In-N-Out again. I went yesterday. I went Saturday. But, I want that burger.
See now, listen, that's why, listen, physical fitness, mental fitness, spiritual, and soul fitness all tie in.
Together.
It all ties in.
Yeah.
I love the way you put that. I love the way you put that.
Yeah, so you have to align them. And if you pause and say, well, I ate a burger on Saturday and I ate one yesterday. I'm not going to eat one today. And you take that control back rather than letting the feeling take you off. You work together with the thought and feeling and you get them aligned. And then you'll be more clear on how to move forward and you have more strength.
Intention in the attention.
Yes.
Get those aligned.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Oh, woo. Hey, now. That's make me want to do a little move.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question. What kind of impact do you hope the Prosperity House leaves on the community?
Oh, great question. My whole thing was having a network. Even as I was in school, even before going to school, I fell in love with crystals several years ago. And I started to sell them and things like that. I learned about clearing energy with them and all that. And my thought was, I'm going to have a space where I can sell these and help people learn about crystals and, how to clear their energy using them and things. And I'd expand it from there. Or I want to have other people there that do things, And so when I was finishing up with my internship and this place came available and it has several rooms, I knew I didn't want to just sit and do therapy all day. I could have got a little office like this and just, just me and the clients. But as fun as that is, I just like more excitement, So I rent the rooms out, and the women there have their own businesses. They don't work for me, and I have a wonderful lady called Mo. Her name is Monique. She runs called Motivate Your Womb.
Shout out, Monique.
Shout out, Mo.
Motivate Your Womb.
Yes, find her on Instagram. She is a birth educator, a doula, and an herbalist. And she does yoni steam, she waist beads, all kinds of things. But her intention is really useful because women don't understand the goddesses that they are when they're bringing babies into the world. I know myself included, I didn't understand that. I was sad a lot, angry a lot. Me and my partner were arguing a lot. And here this little life is growing in me that doesn't need all that, pollution, you know. And so, it's very important to have that. And she's there at the Prosperity House. I have a masseuse who's also an energy healer, Reiki. And so she incorporates that into her massage. Her name is A. Marlene. So shout out
Shout
to
out.
A. Marlene.
Shout out, A. Marlene.
I just added an esthetician, and she's also spiritually aware. So she uses that with her work with people's skin and, keeping them beautiful. And we're just starting up with another woman that we just got a few days ago, a Beautiful Weirdos. And she does permanent jewelry, crystals and things and readings and stuff. So she will be coming soon in July. And so the networking, I wanted it to be a self-care center, somewhere where you can come. I myself do therapy. You can come, and whatever day you come, you can, do some self-care. We network together. We support each other. We often have classes. A couple weeks ago, we had a crystals and waist beads party. That was a lot of fun. Sometimes I'll do chakra energy classes, help people learn about their energy system. My husband and I have done couples classes a couple times, just he and I talk about, the perils of our relationship and, extend that outward. So I really just wanted it to be a communal place where people can come and get whatever help they need. It's fun. It's loving. The environment is nice. We're having our grand opening on June 21st. In Duncanville.
Okay, let's go.
At the Prosperity House. Yes,
okay.
We're going to have a fair. You'll be there with your booth.
And I
your
will.
Fitness booth.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Shout out Rhythm and Boxing.
We have card readers, a chiropractor, a lot of different people coming. We're doing a ribbon cutting at 1:00.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm so excited. It's just, I'm watching my passion come to fruition. And it's really awesome.
Yeah.
It's a really great feeling. Whenever people come to me and they say, my career, I'm like, okay, we got to start figuring out what you love. Let's start there, But the Prosperity House is just an extension of my dreams and my passion. And so I pour myself into it, and I absolutely love it. Yeah.
What I love about that sounds like physical, mental, spiritual, and soulful.
Yeah.
That sounds like a brick and mortar version of all of that.
Yes.
And I love it.
That.
And I love it. Listen, pull up to the Prosperity House. Make sure y'all pull up on Miss Sophia Russell.
Yeah.
She has come in and she has blessed the Get Sturdy With Verty podcast. And I just wanted to say I really appreciate everything that you brought here, the energy, the knowledge, the name drops, the books, everything. I appreciate all of that. And I really hope the listeners really get the same of what I received today.
Thank you.
And I would like to close with this question. What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Love yourself. Love yourself.
Why was that just so good?
Yeah. Figure out how to love yourself.
Love yourself.
If anybody wants to remember anything I ever said at some point, if that becomes a thing, or anyone I've helped, I just love yourself. She showed me how to love myself. It's very important.
That's beautiful. With that being said, you have gotten sturdy with Verty. Big shout out to ELE Studios. Big shout out to my wife, Michelle Raspberry, in her book, Her People, Her People. Make sure you pick that up on Amazon. Big shout out to Miss Sophia Russell. Pick that book up on Amazon. What's the name?
Soul Walk, Before, During, and After Life. You can get it on Amazon. Also, my website, prosperityhouse.co.
And make sure y'all pull up. What is that, June 21st?
June 21st. It's actually Father's Day. I didn't know that when I booked it. But
Father's Day.
Father's Day. You can come out. Great food, fun, 11 to 4, Duncanville, Texas.
So we do matter. Just so y'all know. And also big shout out to LaVert Clothing. Live every moment unapologetically raw. Make sure you live in your life just like that. Make sure you visit the website. Do your thing. Live yourself. Love yourself. Live life unapologetically raw. With that being said, you have gotten sturdy with Verty. Peace.
Peace.